Welcome to our podcast, episode 71 on the rise and fall of Rooster Teeth, or just RT. Um, Once were a good company, but it's now realized that they were a bad company. Well, at the beginning, it was like just friends trying to do stuff, but turns out they kind of suck. At least some of them do more than others. And it's just a disappointment to see like RT in its status, especially since I do think a few of them are cool people. Like Gavin seems cool, but you can't really tell. Like it's hard to know which ones are the good ones and which ones are the actual problem makers. Like who knows? But yeah, yeah. The RT have risen and fallen. Once having some of the best shows like Red vs. Blue and Ruby before it got like overcomplicated and kind of bad. I still enjoy Ruby, but Ruby currently feels like, with the most recent one, kind of filler. Like, here we thought like volume 6 of Ruby was filler because barely anything happens. Same as sort of 4 and 5 in some aspects, but like 6 had like probably the least important stuff other than that one episode that was like a lore dump. Otherwise, uh, everything was pretty much um, kind of useless. But the volume 9 is probably even more useless than 6. Like, did really any of it matter? Like, really? Other than the character development? But otherwise, it's kind of all just a filler from what I've seen. So, yeah, Ruby is not exactly doing great. Not dead, obviously, yet, but eh, not to mention other series have died, such as Camp was another sort of big one. I watched it. I didn't exactly like as much as like Red versus Blue and Ruby, um, but it still was okay. One thing I really enjoyed and kind of wish it had more was Nomad of Nowhere. Actually seemed like a very quality show and very underrated show from RT that got cancelled very quickly. It got canned because the writer was like moved to somewhere else, and yeah, their vision didn't get to go anywhere, which is a sad thing because it seemed like it had actually a lot of potential, even as much potential as like Ruby, but Ruby Ori was more popular, and some of the things were very similar with Ruby, like 4 kingdoms for areas, uh, um, a mortal person with magic that wants to rule or destroy the world. It was basically Ruby 2.0, but actually had potential to be even better than Ruby because Ruby is overbloated sometimes with its characters, plot lines, blah blah blah. It's over complicated and they keep adding onto a lore like, oh, let's add this to the lore, let's add this to a lore, and it's just over bloated. Like, my lore is intense as well, but you know, like, it's very easy to digest things. Like in my lore, like, it may be slightly overbloated, but not as much as Ruby. Like, you can easily digest, like if you watch Living Darkness videos, you can easily learn about the Living Darkness. There's like never too much going on with at once, which is kind of the problem with Ruby with so many characters, is that it tries to do too many things at once and ends up being misdirected, and the themes can often be misinterpreted and like, yeah, so Ruby like is overflowed where No Man Nowhere didn't have that problem because it had specific characters. Like there was still quite a few characters, but they knew when to use the characters and um, like when to put in certain storylines, and it wasn't overbloated and like trying to have too many ideas at once. Like it was one basically core idea that no one seems to trust the nomad, but the nomad's actually nice and wants to protect people and you know, is a good like person thing. I'm gonna say person, but uh, but yeah, you know, I really like No Man Nowhere. Wish it would come back, but the likelihood of it coming back is very unlikely. Um, Other good shows were like RT shorts, kinda. I mean, there were some good ones. Immersion, another good one. $1,000,000 Butt, another good one. A lot of good shows that died. The Rooster Teeth animated thing, which still continues on, but it's kind of eh. I rarely watch it anymore. But yeah, Rooster Teeth rose and fell, and lots of its shows have followed that same pattern, like Red versus Blue, from like good into like great. I mean, the original was great already, but you know, really good stuff. But then it fell same as Ruby, it's kind of fallen. I still like Ruby. Like, since as, yeah, again, I've mentioned this story before, but I watched Ruby in like a course of like a week, a few days. I don't remember, but it was like basically a binge watch of Ruby volume 1 to 6. So, and by the time that I had gone to the final episode, it would happen to be on the day where that episode released. Like, so, yeah, it happened to be the day where it happened to release on Rooster Teeth, so, yeah. So, yeah. Which means for me, when I got into the series, like, volume 4 and 5 didn't seem as bad because I was, like, watching it all in a package, so it was flowing from one thing to another thing, and so I didn't have as much of a negative opinion because I was able to flow seamlessly into the next volume. So, yeah. And like, the ending of 6 was like, oh, I can't wait to see where it goes. And like, 7, like, for me, was a good volume. 8's where it sort of started to mess up again. And then 9 is just kind of seems like filler, you know, because it seems like volume 10 will be where the actual story continues again, so yeah, kind of sucks. I really hope Ruby gets to continue. As for Red vs. Blue, my other favourites, I think Red vs. Blue has had its time. Like, like, I do like the ending of season 17, where it leaves off, because it leaves everyone off in a pretty good place. Doc and Amalia now finally like together at peace, both the personalities. You can see where I had a similar idea with like the Jekyll and Hyde situation, since it's basically that. Kind of similar in my story. So, yeah, that definitely probably had some inspiration on my story, but yeah. Overall, 13 and 10's endings were, I guess, a lot better. Like, 10 was like uncertain future, 13 was like the perfect ending. Yeah, again, uncertain future, but it was like the perfect ending. And 17 was a good ending, leaving off everyone being fine. All the shenanigans with like the gods and stuff is over. And yeah. But yeah, RT has risen and fallen, and I feel sad for those who have went through hell and I hope that some of the recognizable faces, like Gavin and stuff, like, aren't the problem, because they seem like cool, chill people, some of them. Like, like, it seems like, it's probably just a few that are actually bad and stuff. So, yeah. But, yeah, I think that'll do it for, this episode of our podcast on the rise and fall of Rooster Teeth. Until next time, peace.